Here on a Tuesday morning after Memorial Day. I hope you guys are getting ready to get back in the swing of things. It was a hot Memorial Day here in the Midwest, and I was all over the Midwest, I would know, as drove to Columbus, Ohio, and Indianapolis, Indiana, and back here to the region. Actually, I believe the region was actually hotter than all the other places, which is kind of odd because it's so much more north. But we're back and it's time to get going again, and we went from cold ass weather to the middle of summer in about 3 or 4 days, and it just contributes to your durability as a person to live around here. You just get you're going around, you're bitching about the cold weather and the rain and the grayness, and then next thing you know, it's 95 degrees and sunny, and you're like, well, can't my body acclimate, like, you know, from going from like 25 to 95? No, you just kind of got to get ready and just accept it. All right, let's take a look at what's going on around the world. I'll tell you what, it's a Tuesday morning, and there's a big truck, and another big truck, and then there's a big cab. So they're all hanging around here. Let's take a look at what's going on around everywhere in the world, huh? Let's see. You guys remember the latest on a science teacher shot while tackling an armed student in Indiana? School officials say a 13-year-old student was critically wounded during a shooting at her Indiana middle school is improving. The principal of the Noblesville West Middle School said Monday that Ella Whistler is doing better. The school district superintendent says Ella is making progress in her recovery while hospitalized. She was shot Friday morning when an armed student walked into her 7th grade classroom at the suburban Indianapolis school. Her family said she was hospitalized, critical but stable condition. An Indiana teacher who was shot tackling the student says he wants the public to focus on the 13-year-old girl who was seriously injured in the classroom shooting. His name is Jason Seaman. He says Ella Whistler's courage is nothing short of remarkable. That's a tough story. And what else do we got around? Let's see, what about the markets are down a little bit. Global stock markets are lower today, with European markets opening with a second day of losses as investor confidence was sapped by political uncertainty in Italy. Well, I'm standing out here on Indianapolis Boulevard in Hammond, Indiana, on the campus of the Purdue Northwest Commercialization Center. Hey, thanks for beeping. Charlie, have a good day at work. There you go. I don't go very far without running into a relative, literally. I went down the street here to Round the Clock on Friday, and I ran into Bill Van Gorp and his granddaughter, and she lives in Griffith. I forget their last names, to be honest with you. And I went and drove to Columbus, Ohio over the weekend. My wife and I drove there to see my brother and my sister-in-law, and we spent some time along the Columbus Commons, seeing Which One's Pink by Pink Floyd. That was amazing. Watched the Cleveland Cavaliers and LeBron James win in another improbable Eastern Conference championship, as they will go against, hey, who else but the Golden State Warriors, and that'll start on Thursday. Today's Tuesday. Golden State pulling it out yesterday against the Houston Rockets. And my nephew Al and I have a little words on this one, and I told him from the beginning that it was going to be Golden State Cleveland, and it'll be Cleveland in 7. It'll be the best 7th game in the history of the NBA. And perhaps we saw, and I was watching it in Cleveland with some pretty heavy Cavaliers fans. I was watching it in Columbus with some pretty good Cavaliers fans. LeBron James did something on Sunday night, was it? I guess that was Sunday night, yeah. That you really just have to be grateful for, to be able to watch it. You don't know how beautiful those moments until those moments aren't there. And it was a game 7, and Boston has the younger and more athletic team and has better players. Jason Tatum, at 20 years old, is a superstar already, okay? And Cleveland has LeBron James. They didn't even really is the only other guy that you'd really go out of your way to get on your team, you know what I mean? So LeBron James, if you're watching this thing in the third quarter, Boston's winning it. It's at Boston. And you're like, wow, maybe Boston's going to unseat the king. And the whole third makes a fateful mistake. First of all, he drives down the middle of the lane, and he goes to jam one, and LeBron James blocks it. Well, soon after that, Tatum takes the ball for the Celtics, and he drives down the middle of the lane, and he does jam one right on LeBron James. And he goes up at the age of 20 years old, and he chest bumps LeBron James, and he kind of makes fun of the thing that LeBron James does when he makes the big dunk, you know, that big, I don't know what that face is, but it's a crazed face. And Tatum does it right in LeBron James's face, and quite frankly, that was it. I mean, one thing is to show confidence and, I don't know, flair, and another thing is to show disrespect. And disrespect is another thing altogether. And if you show disrespect to the king, you deserve what's coming to you. And the king took the ball and did one of the best fourth quarter shows that you have ever seen. You have ever seen. I don't care who you are. That is one of the best fourth quarter shows, if not the best fourth quarter show you have ever seen. Now, the problem here is that you wake up on Monday morning, and Alexis and I yesterday were in Columbus. We had to go to the laundromat and whatever, but I got to watch a significant amount of debate all day long and listen to some of it on the radio. Hey, thanks for peeping! About who's better, LeBron James or Michael Jordan. And here we are, right here in Hammond. And if you go up on top of this building here, on a very clear day, you can see the very top of the Sears Tower, okay? So it's not Willis Tower now. So it's 22 miles to the Loop, flying as a bird would fly right there. We're in the heart of Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls territory. And believe me, I did not realize at the time what a joy it was to watch Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Horace Grant, Tony Kukoc, Steve Kerr, Bill Wennington. I mean, you could go down the line of really good players that surrounded Michael Jordan. But LeBron James has not had that. LeBron James takes a team and puts it on his shoulder, and then he wins championships, or at least gets to the championships. It's his 8th in a row championships. What we're witnessing now is the greatest basketball player to ever play the game, by far, significantly better than the next person. And all these people saying, well, was Michael the next best? Or then they bring up Tim Duncan or Magic Johnson or Kobe Bryant. And I very much have gratitude for having been able to watch these guys play. Larry Bird. I go back to Jerry West. I've even seen Tom Cousy film. Oscar Robertson. I mean, you're talking greats all the way up and down. Nobody's as good as LeBron James. And when Thursday night comes along, you don't have anything to do, and you're kind of a basketball fan or you're a heavy basketball fan, you need to turn on TNT and watch the greatest show on earth that you will see in 2018. All right, there you go. There's my lecture. I was listening to all these pundits say that Michael Jordan was better or Kobe was better or whatever, and I'm like, God, what game are you guys watching? What game? Are you guys watching? Kevin Durant scored 34 points, and the Golden State Warriors are heading back to their 4th straight NBA Finals after fighting back from another big deficit. That was last night. What else do we have going on here? Well, you know, I'm just going to be honest. There was a shooting in Brussels, and there's a possible storm coming to it's a depression now. It's not a hurricane. Alberto is still a menacing depression after its Memorial Day landfall on the Gulf Coast, scattering heavy rains around the south and raising risk of flash floods. This is the first named story of a storm of 2018. Hey, what's going on? Have fun. Get back into your life, okay? It's Tuesday morning after Memorial Day. You know what? Typically on this day, I have trouble getting back into my life. Big Chuck! Big Chuck! All right! Contractor Steel Company. Roadrunners Auto Transport, Inc. I have trouble getting back into it, but I don't know why. Today, woke up, wrote a blog. You guys can check out my blog at jimdeedlow.com. And it's warm out, and summer has arrived. And there's a lot to be grateful for. And I hope you guys remembered that yesterday on Memorial Day. Took just that moment to remember what it's all about. But anyways, Alberto is subtropical storm. Alberto lumbered ashore Monday afternoon in the Florida Panhandle, and then weakened overnight to a depression centered over Alabama. It's a vast, soggy system. It has been dumping warm waters gathered over the Gulf of Mexico in bursts of rain across the south. Forecasters said that rain could still kill people caught in flash floods in the coming hours or days in Alabama and large areas of Georgia, Tennessee, and the Carolinas. Also yesterday, in this bad storm, 2 news people died. And I'll talk about that when I go in on my JED region. But I was a photographer and an anchor covering a nasty storm in the southeast, and they got killed in a horrible situation. I don't have that story in front of me. What else do we got here? Okay, here's let's do the 10 things we need to know today according to the AP, all right? Diplomacy accelerates ahead of a possible U.S.-North Korea summit. Senior North Korean official Kim Yong-chol plans to head to the United States, potentially for more talks to set up the meeting. South Korea's Yonhap News reports. We just talked about Alberto, that's number 2. Number 3, why Trump is heading to the South. The president travels to Nashville to raise campaign cash for Representative Marsha Blackburn, the GOP's leading Senate hopeful in Tennessee, and headline a rally. Number 4 is hunt for Malaysia Flight 370 ends, but the head of a technology company that scoured the Indian Ocean seabed for the lost airliner says he hopes to take part in any future search. Man, that's crazy. Just can't find that one, you know? A piece of it, was it Tasmania or some island off of Australia, a piece of Malaysian Flight 370 washed up a couple of years ago, and they were able to do that, but they really haven't been able to find the actual plane. It's the craziest thing. Who arrives back in Utah after the Venezuela ordeal? A cheering crowd awaits Josh Holt at the Salt Lake City Airport nearly 2 years after a trip to meet the woman he loved turned into an imprisonment in a Venezuelan jail. Starbucks closes more than 8,000 stores nationwide today for anti-bias training, a month after the wrongful arrest of 2 black men at one of its stores. And patients of a neurologist facing rape charges in New York and at New Jersey say law enforcement officials in Philadelphia are burying nearly identical accusations against him. And that ought to do it, man. The Starbucks thing, that's kind of a drag. I usually leave here after the show, and a lot of times I'll stop and get a latte right down the street. But anti-bias training, what is that? Excuse me. How would you teach someone not to have bias? I don't know. if they came to me and said, hey, Jed, can you do some anti-bias training? What would I do? Well, I'll just tell you how I see it, all right? If you've got bias, you got it from your surroundings, from the people around you. And I can tell you that growing up here in Northwest Indiana and working in construction, and I used to hear the N-word a lot. Let's use that one, okay? I mean, you can have bias against women or certain religions, but a big one in America is like whites and blacks. And there's black and against white bias also. We could get to that sometime. But growing up and working in construction, I mean, I was 15. I was working as a union laborer illegally and running jackhammers and going into bars. And then by the time I was 18 or 19, just kind of I guess almost a seasoned laborer. But you would go into Gary, where I did a lot of the work, and there was this certain bar on, was it 12 or 20? 12. And you would come up to the bar, and I don't know, I probably started going there when I was 16. And you'd get up there with the other laborers who were white with you. And you would walk up to the door, and then they would somehow see you. I don't know if they had a camera or if they looked out a window or whatever. And if you were white, they would buzz you in. And if you were black, they would not let you in. Matter of fact, I was in there one time when a black guy was buzzing or standing at the door and they wouldn't let him in. So that was a kind of an acceptable bias. And do you carry that with you? Now, my mom, rest her soul, used to just get extremely agitated and angry if there was any bias that came up amongst the kids. Like we said, if you made fun of another religion or you made fun of a race or whatever, she used to get just really mad about it. So I carry that on. But I don't think that most people that have bias or haven't learned how to undo the bias, you can't go back to when they're little kids, right? So you can't give it to them on like an emotional or primal level. The id gets what it has early on, right? So you have to come at them in a rational level. Like, these are rational ideas that, you know, just because you're white and someone's black doesn't make you better than them, or doesn't make you think that they're going to kill you or do something violent against you, or it is a bad idea. I tried that with my uncle one time. I'm like, you know, if you instill bias in your kids, you're giving them a competitive disadvantage. Because once they go into the marketplace, there's people of all kinds. And if you want your kids to be successful, you want them to be able to deal and accept people of all kinds. And that was like the one thing I ever got on a point on my uncle, by the way. And that he was like, well, you know, you may have a point about that. So you're dealing with the rational level. You're not dealing with, like, you know, here's the emotional level. You're in your home and your family's trying to give you a memory or something to hold, like a memento. You learn that you can almost get that on an emotional level. So if you're sitting at Starbucks today, they're not going to be able to connect with you on that level. It's going to have to be a rationality. And I don't know if that's possible, to be honest with you. I really don't know what they hope to get accomplished today. Anyways, I'm Jim Delo. This is JED in America. I just come out here in the morning and I ramble. Let's welcome you to your week here. We're back. It's a 4-day week. It's a shorter week. Right now, there's no cars or trucks on Indianapolis Boulevard. So I'm going to walk out there and just feel the aloneness. But hey, you know what? We're all in the exact same position today, having a little trouble getting it ready, trying to get it rolling. And I'll tell you what, I'll get it rolling for you. For whatever reason, I got a decent energy today. And Verlie Suggs is here for my JED in the Region segment that we're going to do in a little bit. I'll close down JED in America right now. resurfaced right now on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube in video, and also on the radio on AM 1230 and 104.7 FM right here in Hammond, Indiana. Also on your TuneIn app if you want to drive around and just listen to the show. All right, guys, I started out. We have local radio that goes all day long, all sorts of shows. Don't go anywhere. This is your home, the voice and face of the